Reagan, and today I'm going to be doing my top guilty pleasure reads. Now I decided to make this video because I feel like I spend a lot of time discussing the books that move me because, you know, they have deep writing or like they have fantastic plots and stuff like that. But there is a genre of book that I don't touch on as much, and that is guilty pleasures. I define guilty pleasures as books that are maybe not the most creative, maybe not the most well written, but for whatever reason, I fly through them and I'm a little bit obsessed with them after I finish reading them. But on the flip side, because I consider them guilty pleasures, I don't necessarily talk about them as much. So today, I thought I would make a whole dedicated video about them to tell you about them. So let's get started. First on the list is honestly one of my ultimate guilty pleasures, and that is Shatter Me from the Shatter Me Trilogy by Tahada Mafi. This is so addicting. It is about a woman named Juliet who's been in captivity all of her life because her touch is literally lethal. She touches people, they die. This series has one of the greatest love triangles of all time, and that is why it is so addicting, and the writing is quite frankly beautiful. It is set in a dystopian world, but no one really cares about that because you're much more interested in the love triangle and what the heck is going to happen between all of the characters. It's funny, it's angsty, it is a ride, and you will probably read it in a couple of days because it is so darn addicting. My next guilty pleasure reads is the Angel Fall Trilogy by Susan E. The first one being Angel Fall, the second one being World After. Now this is a post-apocalyptic angel novel set in, you know, like our world after the world has ended. These, you know, similar, extremely fast-paced plot, snarky main character, but again, the best part about it is that lovely, angsty romance that exists between our main character and, guess, wait for it, a fallen angel. So, there's only the first two novels of this out. The last one I believe is coming out this year sometime or early next year. I am very excited to finish up this trilogy. Another one that I fly through. They're super duper addicting and great because of that. Next on the list is a paranormal romance, and it is the Sweet Evil Trilogy, the first one being Sweet Evil. This is about children of demons. Essentially, there are the deadly sins and they have children and they have to, you know, work for their parents and continue on doing sinful things. But our main characters in this trilogy don't really want to, so they're kind of fighting against their parents. And our main character is, you know, that good girl, and she falls in love with the bad boy, and it is exactly as outrageous as you think it would be. It is so ridiculous, but even still, so addicting because it is so ridiculous. It is like, if you're in the mood for paranormal romance and something that kind of makes you roll your eyes a lot, read this because it's some of the best of the YA paranormal romance in my opinion. Next we're going into the very obvious sector with, of course, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. This series, just the Mortal Instrument series, I have been reading for the longest time, and as I'm sure many of you know, it follows shadow hunters who exist in our reality, but they fight demons that we cannot see, and they live in an institute together and they fight the demons. And in the Mortal Instruments, we follow a main character named Clare, who didn't know she was of shadow hunter descent, like descendancy, till like she almost got killed by a demon. So that's kind of the premise of the first book. These books are ridiculous. I've been reading them since 7th grade, but because there's that nostalgic factor and that addicting quality that Cassandra Clare has, I will continue to read them as she pumps out another one every single year, probably until I'm 50. But these books are great. There's a lot of awesome plot twists. Don't go in expecting much, but if you want something a little fun and a little, you know, humorous, definitely check out this series. And on the same side of that, I also have the Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, but in my opinion, this side series to the Mortal Instruments is actually much, much, much better. It is honestly, I feel like, Cassandra Clare's best books that she has published, but they still have the same addictive, guilty pleasure quality that the Mortal Instrument has, but in my opinion, much better, more fleshed out characters and much more lovable characters, aka Will Herondale, who's like my favorite person ever to be in a book, so. And the last guilty pleasure book I'm going to be talking about today is one that might be a little bit surprising, but it is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. This is an adult romance book. I don't care how people classify it. It is set in a historical setting, but it is a romance book no matter which way you slice and or dice it. And it is absolutely the most dramatic book I have ever read in my entire life. I was obsessed with this book when I started to read it and was reading it, but when I finished it, I realized kind of how ridiculous it really was, but I loved it anyway. This is a historical fiction novel set in Russia following our two main protagonists. Tatiana and Alexander, two star-crossed lovers that can't be together, and then there's a war background, and it's so dramatic. This is actually a trilogy, but I haven't continued on because when I finished this one, I was a little emotionally and mentally exhausted from reading it, but it is so addicting. Like, this to me personifies like guilty pleasure book. Like, it's kind of schmutty, it's kind of caters to like all the like fantasies of like a romance, like ooh, big strong dark handsome soldier man, but it's pretty good. It's definitely very good. Alrighty guys, those are all of my favorite guilty pleasure reads. Let me know down below some books that you consider guilty pleasures that you love, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!